Well, the 8th of June 2013, it is a very good afternoon to you and welcome to KTN Live at 1, coming to you live from the Standard Group Center right here in Nairobi. Welcome to the program. I'm Eric Njoka. We begin with some sad news, and former South African President Nelson Mandela, aged 94, has been readmitted to hospital with a renewed lung infection. According to a statement from South African state officials, the 94-year-old icon is in a serious but stable condition. Mandela has been ill for days after deteriorated overnight and was transferred to a hospital in Pretoria. This marks the second hospitalization for the ailing anti-apartheid hero in 2 months. On April the 8th, he was released from hospital after being treated for pneumonia during a 10-day stay. Mandela led the fight against apartheid, becoming South Africa's first black president, and is widely regarded as a father of the nation. He has recently suffered a series of health problems, and this is his 5th visit to hospital in 2 years. He retired from public life in 2004 and has been rarely seen in public ever since. Moving on, members of the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association have embarked on an initiative to have the government increase its budget towards fighting HIV and AIDS. The initiative is based on the fact that about 87% of funding for HIV and AIDS programs are from foreign donors. Out of this, 90% of the funding goes into treatment, while 10% goes into prevention. Kenya is treading on dangerous ground. If foreign donors do decide to hold funding, then HIV and AIDS programs and initiatives will be compromised because of the country's donor dependency. Out of the 1.5 million pregnant women, 87,000 of them are HIV positive, and a further 11,000 children are born positive. Therefore, the government needs to invest more in prevention and treatment of HIV and AIDS.
We can harness the political goodwill and harness the required, get in place the required legislation to ensure that we eliminate mother-to-child transmission.
To embark on not just prevention, but elimination of mother-to-child transmission, so that mothers deliver babies who are free of HIV, and also the mothers remain alive.
To matters agriculture now, and 7 lawmakers from Uasin Gishu County have joined farmers in demanding that the Ministry of Agriculture moves with speed to ensure quick supply of top-dressing fertilizer for maize farmers. The legislators say the current retail price of calcium ammonium fertilizer, or if you like CAN, by local suppliers was unaffordable for majority farmers. Farmers in the maize-producing county have expressed fears that they stand to lose a bumper harvest if the government's subsidized fertilizers for top dressing are not supplied in good time.
Fertilizer na CAN imekuwa shida kwa mwaka huu, lakini nataka niwahakikishie nyinyi wananchi, mwaka ujao tumepata fertilizer itakuwa 1,800, ikizidi itakuwa 2,000. Mwaka ujao tunataka tuteremshe bei ya mahindi ya mbegu iwe 1,400, na hiyo ndio tutasaidia wananchi bei kuje chini na maneno yote ipangike. Tusidanganyane kusema tutafanya namna hii na namna hii. Kitu ya maana ni kutafuta fertilizer rahisi, kitambo factory iletwe hapa, ndio hao wananchi wa Uasin Gishu wapate kukuza mahindi kwa wingi na tupunguze aibu ya njaa katika taifa la Kenya.
Hivi karibuni tutapanga maneno ya bili ya kupitisha hiyo maneno ya kilos iwe 50 kilos kwa mahindi. Na vile vile maneno ya maziwa tunataka hakikisha. Mimi ninaomba serikali, kwa sababu chakula ni food security ya nchi hii. Hii watu wenye wana ground cereal, tuombe serikali tuambiao msikize, sababu kesi sasa imepelekwa mpaka tarehe 21 baada ya wiki 2. Na ninaomba hii ingetakuwa iangaliwe kwa sababu ya security ya nchi ni chakula.
Well, Kenyans stand in the numbers this morning to take part in the 2nd annual Hadi Kenya Staircase Race at the Kenyatta International Conference Center. The unique staircase relay, which is one of its kind, raises money to fight the Giga menace. Teams of 5 set off on the relay race that saw each team member tackle a portion of the section from the parking lot up the stairs until the 27th floor and back down again. Afterwards, participants also took part in potato and sack races. The staircase relay race is aimed at raising funds that will help to alleviate the suffering of families in areas where the Giga infestation migration problem poses a great challenge. Over 40 corporate groups took part in the race. This year, organizers hope to raise over 5 million shillings from the event.
Resolution 122. And I see.
Okay.
The purpose of this race is to be able to rehabilitate people. We have realized that triggers is a result of poverty. So the money raised today will go towards empowering the Kenyans who have recovered, starting for them some businesses and being able to put them back on their feet.
That's a good race. President Uhuru Kenyatta and the First Lady Margaret Kenyatta were among guests, friends and relatives who attended the wedding reception of Sialo Ngilu and Ann Maina at Marula Mana in Karen, Nairobi yesterday. It was pomp and glamour as the son of Lands and Housing Charity Ngilu exchanged wedding vows in a colorful ceremony. Speaking during the ceremony, President Kenyatta congratulated the newlywed couple on their wedding and wished them God's blessing as they settled down to raise a family. Welcoming the couple into this next stage of their lives, the president said life has challenges which can, however, be overcome when people submit to God in all their endeavors. In this regard, the head of state further reminded married couples that they were responsible for their lives, advising them to seek God's guidance while nurturing the love between them. Also in attendance was Deputy President William Ruto.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
I'm sure you will not take too long planning. Mr. Sialo, you are aware we have met things easier. The President has already announced that maternal health care and things related to giving birth are now available.
Today is the wow factor. Everybody will tell you a lot of nice things and great things, but as a member of the club for over 22 years, I can assure you that the path will also equally be rocky. It's not going to be smooth sailing all the way. They'll be tough, and it'll be uphill and sometimes smooth. But if you remember why you got together in the first place and the love that joined you together, and remember to keep God in your life, I assure you, no matter how difficult times may seem, you will get over them together.
On to the coast region, and the fight against piracy off the Somali coast is far from over. The European Union Naval Force political advisor Steen Johnson says that while Kenyans' role in efforts to pacify and stabilize Somalia have been commendable, global partnership is paramount if the dream to wipe out the threat of piracy is to be realized. Meanwhile, the Kenya Forest Service remains optimistic that Kenya can achieve the targeted 10% forest cover. KFS launched the 2013 tree planting campaign in Mombasa yesterday. Ferdinand Omondi with the details.
Efforts by the Armada of international and regional armed forces fighting piracy in the Indian Ocean is paying dividends. The European Union Naval Force has declared that sustained military vigilance, coupled with the shipping industry's response in adopting best management practices for protection against Somali-based piracy, has seen a decline.
Piracy will be over only when at-shore situation is stabilized and governance is leverage, and the development will come also.
Commodore Palmer was speaking about the visiting Portuguese frigate NRP Alvarez Cabral, which docked at the Mombasa port for replenishment. The EU spoke highly of Kenya's contribution to the war on piracy, particularly KDF's incursion into Somalia and the partnership with the Navy.
And we are very much looking forward to continue our cooperation in the legal sphere with Kenya in the
Still in Mombasa, the Kenya Forest Service launched the tree planting campaign for the year 2013 at the SOS School in Nyali. Mombasa County's ecosystem conservator Anne Fidelis Itubo says while the country is making progress towards achieving 10% forest cover by 2015, more people need to get involved.
It starts with an individual, and it starts from your household.
The minimum global target for forest cover for a country is 10%. However, Kenya is still languishing at an underwhelming 6.5%, and it is efforts like this at individual and institutional level that are encouraged to help achieve that target. The exercise involved various stakeholders from the private sector to schools and even the military through the environmental soldier program.
The matter of resources should be taken as an urgent issue and should be included in the national security program.
When you cut down the trees, we don't have a good scenery, and the trees help in the home of the wildlife, and some forests attract tourists.
Ferdinand Mundi, KTN, Mombasa.
Now, the Kenya Defence Force has completed the training of special troops with rapid deployment capability as it equips itself for continental assignments. The troops began training in 2008 to conform to Africa Union's roadmap of having a standby force ready for deployment in case of a conflict. Kenya becomes the first country in Eastern and Central Africa to have a well-trained and equipped standby troop. The team is trained on disaster response and humanitarian assistance operations, control, execution of complex peace support operations, as well as how to negotiate peace between two aggressors. KDF Major General Francis Ntenge, who is in charge of the troops training, says the idea of a standby force is founded on the philosophy of a unified area forces in Africa that can be able to respond within the shortest time possible and arrest the situation in time of crisis.
And it is purely meant to practice the Kenya rapid deployment capability in order to be able to be deployed anywhere in Africa. Is founded on the philosophy of the East African Standby Force, which is based in Karachi. And therefore, we are also a very strong member of the East African Standby Force.
This is a capability that moves to the theater within the shortest time possible. That is to mean from the day we are given the go-ahead, within 14 days we will be in the theater. My capability has a force of 1,787. That comprises my headquarters, my mechanized units, together with air, logistics, and medical, to include also the engineers.
To matters environment now, and efforts to ensure development projects do not encroach into the Nairobi National Park continued today as the Nairobi Green Line was officially commissioned at the National Park. The 30-kilometer long and 50 meters wide belt, made up of a forest of 300,000 indigenous trees, stretches from the Cheetah Gate in Athi River to the Carnival Restaurant. The initiative, backed by the M-Pesa Foundation, which was launched 3 years ago, and when completed will act as a green buffer between the Nairobi National Park and any negative effects of human encroachment. The Nairobi National Park is the only park within a city in the world.
This project aims to protect the national park from pollution, from encroachment, and from human-wildlife conflict. But if we're not careful, the next generation will not know what a cheetah is. Let us all remember the words of the late Wangari Maathai, that we owe it to ourselves and to the next generation to conserve the environment so that we can bequeath our children a sustainable world that benefits all.
Now, the National Drugs Control Body NACADA is stepping up efforts to raise drug abuse awareness in central Kenya, a region that has been grappling with the vice for years. Music, drama and other forms of art are being used to reach out to the youth, as Nakada held its first inter-county music competition that involved all the 3 counties in central Kenya. Just weeks ago, another competition involving 4 districts from Nyeri was held at the Nyeri Museum Hall as a way to involve the youth and create awareness. The Deputy Governor of Nyeri, Samuel Wamadhai, said the Nyeri leadership was ready to fight the consumption of alcohol in Central, as currently Central Kenya comes a close second to Nairobi in alcohol abuse. The winning group walked away with 80,000 Kenya shillings.
There are few cases of drugs coming up in the Central region, and as Nakada we are putting up measures to control the same. We are working with the narcotic unit of the police to seal all the entries of drugs within the region. And I think you can bear me witness that in the recent past you have had a lot of bangi being netted in Kirinyaga County. And we are equally doing the same in all other counties within the region.
We as a county government, we are grateful that they came today, and we are doing a lot so that we can get our generation working. What we want to do at county level is to push through the county assembly certain regulations that will further control abuse of alcohol and drugs. Those ones are in the process. But we do thank these people in Nakada because of organizing this thing and the many seminars they have been doing. That is the message.
Let's go now to northeastern region, and members of the Isiolo Sand Loaders Association have protested the governor's directive to stop all sand harvesting activities in the county beginning this month. The young men said they were not consulted on the ban despite being a registered group whose activities are legal. They held a peaceful demonstration in Isiolo town using donkeys that carried placards denouncing the governor's orders. Through their chairman, Luke Mithika, the group appealed to Isiolo Governors Doyo Godana to allow them to continue harvesting sand because that was their only source of livelihood. However, the demonstrators' grievances would not be immediately addressed since neither the governor, his deputy, nor speaker of the county assembly were in their offices. Time for a break. You are indeed watching KTN Live at 1 with me, Eric Njoka. More stories coming up shortly. Glad you're watching. Welcome back to the program. Talks between Malian authorities and armed ethnic Tuareg groups who hold the northeastern town of Kidal are scheduled to kick off today after a day's delay, a source close to the Burkinabe mediator says. Rights groups on Friday accused Mali's army and Tuareg separatist rebels of torturing and killing civilians despite the presence of France military. Amnesty International said a month-long research mission to Mali found the army had tortured dozens of people suspected of collaborating with the MNLA, Tuareg rebels or Islamist groups which seized control of North Mali early last year. It documented more than 20 cases of extrajudicial executions and arbitrary killings by the army and the Mujua Islamist group in northern Mali. A French-led military campaign launched in January broke the grip of a loose Islamist coalition including Mujwa and Al-Qaeda's North African arm Akim over the desert region where the militants had imposed harsh Sharia Islamic law. And in the East, it's not just the Chinese president that gets attention on their trips. China's First Lady has been stealing the spotlight. Here's a profile.
China's newest superstar, the First Lady, Peng Liyuan, turning heads wherever she goes. And unlike the First Ladies before her, she's stealing the spotlight from her husband, Chinese President Xi Jinping, in the way only a glamorous wife can, like Michelle Obama, Kate Middleton, When she accompanied her husband to Russia this spring, her name instantly started trending on China's version of Twitter. Everything from her hair to her clothes to her posture, looked at through a microscope and imitated. Reports are that sales of the winter coat and the blue scarf, like the one she wore here on that trip, went way up in China. Peng seems to be everywhere these days, greeting dignitaries, gracing photo ops, and recently named one of Time magazine's most influential people. This week, she's on the world stage again on a whirlwind trip with her husband from Trinidad and Tobago to California for her husband's summit with President Barack Obama, causing a stir back home.
To be honest, until now, she's the only First Lady that truly deserves to be taken on state visits. She's very beautiful and elegant. The outfits really show her good taste in fashion.
Previous leaders rarely took their wives on state visits. She's really helping China build its national image, and she's promoting Chinese brands by wearing their clothes. And that's really good.
This is a very different Chinese First Lady. Her predecessors were not often seen in public, and if they were, they stood silently at their husband's side. Ironically, it was Peng's voice that first captivated the Chinese people, long before most people knew of her husband. She was a popular folk singer, a soprano who regularly sang Communist Party songs on Chinese television shows. But to the world just getting to know Peng Liyuan, she is 50 years old, Xi Jinping's second wife. They married in 1987. The two have a daughter who attends Harvard University. And in recent years, she's begun to champion causes like HIV/AIDS protection and anti-smoking campaigns. Her singing career was sidelined as her husband's career took off. But in her new role as First Lady, she is often front and center on world trips, a spot where few Chinese First Ladies have stood before. For Out Front, I'm Pauline Chu, CNN, Hong Kong.
Don't you just envy her, the First Lady who sings? Finally, mass unemployment in southern Europe has triggered an exodus of highly qualified job seekers, many of whom are making their way north to Germany. There, a relatively strong economy and growing shortage of skilled workers is attracting newcomers and driving immigration to a 17-year high. Here are the details.
In a small town near Stuttgart, two Spaniards listen attentively to their boss. They are the new faces of Zeal Arbeg, a mid-sized company that makes electrical ventilators and motors.
We are a multinational company on the global and working on the global market. That means we have to have international people speaking English and local languages, and we are extremely keen to get these people on board.
On the factory floor, the workforce is German, but the research and development department is drawing in highly skilled engineers from across Europe. This is the largest ventilation and noise test chamber in the world. It is here they test their fans to the extreme. Holding it all up, 1,250 tons of concrete set on springs. 100,000 cubic meters of air is blown through these absorbers directly into these fans, which have to cope with up to 3,000 tons of pressure. Balancing the workforce is something this business takes as seriously as balancing the fans it produces. 2 million of them a year. In the last year, it's hired people from as far afield as Romania, China, Portugal, and several Spaniards like Christina. I lost my job back in November in Spain. Zeal Arbeg gave me 4 months work experience. I liked it and they've offered me a contract. Plenty of others also see opportunity in Germany. Immigration is at a 17-year high. Last year, 390,000 immigrants made their way to Europe's largest economy. 72,000 from Portugal, Greece, Italy and Spain.
We like the people, we like the country, we like the countryside, and right now we cannot see any reason why we would go back to Spain.
Others, though, could decide to return home. For the company, it's a risk.
It comes down to an individual to get him or her into the position being able to give us any benefit for the company. It's in the average between 40 and 50,000 euros to get them to the level.
an investment that long-term may just help reshape his business. Isa Suarez, CNN, Kunzelsau, Germany.
Well, and those are the latest updates at this hour. Thank you very much for joining us and for watching KTN Live at 1. From me, Eric.